What is going on, guys? Predator45H here, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome back to World of Warships, where today we're going to be taking a look at a viewer replay submitted by Soalhn, who has sent in a fair few replays before that have been featured. So today we are taking a look at a battle he sent in his Tier 8 North Carolina, the American Battleship, the first American Battleship that I really enjoyed back when they were introduced in closed beta. When that happened back all those months ago, I really didn't like the American Battleships. I grew to really like them over time, but initially, New York, New Mexico, Colorado, I really didn't like any of them. But the North Carolina, this was where the American Battleship line sort of picked up and started to become more similar to the Japanese line of battleships. So obviously you got longer range guns, faster speed, all that stuff. And I don't know, that's just what I was looking for at the time. But as I said, since then, really grown to like the American battleships and the brawling nature that comes with them. However, the 21 knot speed is always a bit of a problem. But thankfully, the North Carolina is the first battleship that gets over its fear of going faster than 21 knots and can actually go all the way up to 28, I think it is. Not that much slower than the Iowa, and I think the Montana is the same as North Carolina. But anyways, so we are on to brothers, and let's quickly have a look over the teams. As you can see, each team has a Tier 8 aircraft carrier, 2 Tier 8 battleships. There's 2 North Carolinas on Soalhn's team, a North Carolina and a Tirpitz on the enemy team. As for the rest of the battleships, his team then has a Nagato and a Fuso, enemy team New Mexico and a Fuso. Cruisers, enemy team is a Tier 8, otherwise it's mostly 7s and no 8s on Soalhn's team, just the 7s and some 6s. And then as for the destroyers, fairly even there at Tier 7 on each team and a Tier 6. But anyways, he's just been detected for the first time, and he's already got his first target lined up. A little bit of a replay bug there with the Pensacola, and he's taking his first shots at the enemy Fuso. Just firing with the front 2 guns, and he doesn't quite have enough angle on the rear turret to fire that one off at the Cleveland, but he does manage to land 2 hits on the Fuso and a Citadel with his first salvo, and it looks like about 20,000 hit points of the Fuso's health were erased with that salvo. Fortunately, the one shot he does take with the rear turret at the Cleveland didn't manage to find its mark, and here comes the North Carolina on the enemy team as well. But Fuso looks like he's going to give him another nice broadside. As you can see, he's sort of hovering around half speed. He's not charging in here. Another Citadel, another hit, another 17,000 damage, and just like that, within the first few minutes of this match, this Fuso is down to 20,000 hit points or so. Unfortunately, there are a few enemy destroyers in and around the area. We've got a Mahan in front of us. At least we've got some allied destroyers. We've got a Farragut and a Blivostica. I hope I said that right. And torpedoes coming in. It looks like he's going to fire the front 2 guns at the, or all 3 turrets, should I say, at the Mahan. Shots going in. Only 2 hits, 2,600 damage. And unfortunately, his reversing here looks like it's going to put him in the path of the torpedo. But thankfully for him, it runs out of range within a few hundred meters of his ship. So that worked out rather well. And the enemy destroyer, the enemy Mahan, is now retreating. And it looks like one of, the Farragut is laying down a smoke screen in front of Soalhn, which is always very nice of him. Pensacola is opening up at 13.3 kilometers. This is very brave of this Pensacola player because pretty terrible ship that. I mean, it's got good guns, but it's just no armor whatsoever. It's made out of Citadel. If you hit it with a battleship, there's a very good chance you might just get a Citadel on him. Cleveland, unfortunately, good shot on him, good range and all that for the dispersion, but his guns are not going to be reloaded in time to take the shot. Mahan, I believe, is out of torpedo range, and he's just been detected once again. So who is he going to fire at next, and who's going to fire at him? 12.9 kilometers to the enemy North Carolina, but this is not really a great angle. I mean, you could still do something, but he holds his fire, which is possibly a good idea. Pensacola is opening up, manages to land 2,700 hit points worth of damage. No fires, thankfully. Is he going to take a shot here at the North Carolina? It's pointing all of its guns towards Soalhn. He's fired a salvo at the North Carolina. Shots are going in. One hit for no damage. Incoming fire from the North Carolina. Enemy North Carolina does 26,000 hit points worth of damage. I think that is a double Citadel right there. And that is one of the problems with the North Carolina, is if you are in a situation like this where you are facing directly at the enemy, they can sometimes just punch straight through your bow armor and Citadel you from the front. It generally works better if you just have a very slight angle on it and not facing directly at him. Anyway, enemy destroyer is putting in some fire from its smokescreen, and thankfully Soalhn's allied in North Carolina has now arrived on scene and will hopefully tank some of the damage, because obviously Soalhn is down to half health pretty much. And shots going in on this Cleveland, they're looking good. Manages to land a Citadel. We all know how difficult the Clevelands can be to Citadel sometimes. Finishes off the Cleveland and gets his first kill of the match, and I think that is his third Citadel if you look up top at the ribbons. So he's just backing up, planes coming in. Looks like a lot of the enemy vessels have shifted their fire towards the other North Carolina, which is just great for us because he has more hit points. Although he took a pretty massive hit there. I can only imagine that he was showing his broadside to this North Carolina, or we can see he was, and this North Carolina punished him for it, and punished him seriously. So this guy, this Whitebeard, is having some fantastic RNG, some fantastic luck, and he knows how to place his shots as well. But anyways, a new juicy target has appeared. It is the Lexington on the enemy team, 21.8 kilometers away. Firing off the front two guns, that does of course reveal his position, and as he fires, the Lexington seems to have realized he is spotted, he is within range, and he has started moving. Soalhn did aim towards the front half of the ship, so maybe he can get lucky here with a decent hit. And 4 hits for 14,200 damage, not bad. No Citadels, just some good meaty hits on the aircraft carrier. And looks like the enemy North Carolina is continuing to focus on the other North Carolina. Full broadside on the Lexington. Will we get lucky with this salvo? But Soalhn is now positioning himself quite well. I'd say he's decently angled against the other North Carolina, and he can get all his guns on target on the Lexington. Maybe not leading quite enough there. Could have aimed a little or gotten the shells to land a little bit more towards the midship, but he lands 4 hits and gets just under 10,000 damage. So now he is moving forward, and as I say, I mean, this is a much better angle in my opinion when facing off against another battleship. Fires off the front 2 guns. Pretty good dispersion on the salvo so far, and the shells are coming in. How are they going to do? Unfortunately, they landed a little bit short. The lead was good, but the elevation was not quite enough. Manages 2 hits out of the salvo, but neither of those hits do any damage. Things are looking pretty good for his team. It's 4-3. His team has lost 3 cruisers. The enemy team has lost 2 battleships, a cruiser, and a destroyer, and I'm presuming it was actually the Tirpitz that they lost. So the enemy team has lost one of their tier 8 battleships, which just leaves, I should have looked, the Fuso, no, the North Carolina and the New Mexico. Shots in on the Pensacola, who's now at just under 15 kilometers, which is a great range to engage cruisers at sometimes. A little bit closer is better. And there you can see 14,400 hit points. Takes out his engine, gets a Citadel, and pretty much halves the amount of health that this poor Pensacola has. Unfortunately, the rear turret is still taking its leisurely time to swing around and get on target, but soon we will hopefully be able to fire off another full broadside, fire off a broadside with all 3 turrets, and finish this pesky cruiser off, excuse me. He has been set on fire, lucky salvo I guess. I mean, it was just 1 or 2 rounds that hit him from this Pensacola and that set him on fire, but anyway, next shot's going in. Fortunately, he has started maneuvering, so only 1 shot hits for minor damage. He is currently leaving the fire to just burn out, and he's using his repair party to build up his hit points to sort of mitigate some of the fire damage that he is receiving, and keeping hold of his damage control team in case he's set on fire again. Pensacola is now at less than 5,000 hit points. He is on fire. Soalhn fires off a full broadside, staggering it a little bit. But it looks like the Pensacola is pretty much out right now, and so is the fire, which is always good. So closing in on Whitebeard, who looks like he's still focusing on the North Carolina, the other North Carolina, or one of the cruisers. I think he No, must be the other North Carolina in the capture point. I just noticed while looking at the mini-map that a few seconds after he fired, one of the cruisers that was in the cap zone was killed, so I thought it might have been Whitebeard. But anyways, 4 hits and a Citadel on Whitebeard, getting himself Soalhn, getting himself the Confederate Award, and returning the favor a little bit for all the damage this guy did earlier on. But it looks like the enemy team is responding to Soalhn's allies being in the cap zone. 2 cruisers and a battleship have come back to try and defend. So firing off another salvo with just the front 2 guns this time. Pretty good dispersion on some of these shots. How are they going to do? Another Citadel, 2 Citadels, and reduces this North Carolina down to less than 9,000 hit points. So this guy's probably regretting his decision now to focus on the other North Carolina and leave Soalhn alone. Some damage, minor damage from that salvo, just about 3,000 or so. But I mean, this guy's very close to being dead now. Just need 1 or 2 decent-ish hits and we should be able to finish him off. Is the salvo going to do it? Unfortunately not. 3 hits for 3,000 damage. But I mean, this guy is so close to being dead. And it looks like the North Carolina was sunk and the cruiser was sunk in the cap zone. So let's just have a quick look. All that remains is the North Carolina, the Miyoko, the Nagato, and the Blaskavica. On the enemy team, North Carolina, New Mexico, Admiral, Hipper, Miyoko, Nuremberg, and Mitsuki. So the enemy team has actually pulled this back and has a slight numbers advantage right now, and even a slight points advantage. Shots in, full salvo, not needed. 1 hit was enough to finish him off. So now Soalhn is here pretty much alone at the enemy cap zone. Got a Miyoko at less than 9 kilometers now, firing off the rear turret because that's the one that was ready. Pretty good dispersion on 2 of those shots. How are they going to do? Unfortunately, they go a little bit too far forward and a little bit too high up, so they don't strike at the waterline. But he's got another salvo on the way. Miyoko's turning away, which probably means torpedoes. Gets high caliber, battle hero, and does some decent damage to the Miyoko. He is capping once again for his team, but he's down to less than 20,000 hit points now. 28 seconds until he can use his repair party and build up some more of his hit points. These shots going in, looking good. Citadel, 14,400 hit points done, leaving the Miyoko on less than 3,000. And here comes some torpedoes, unfortunately, as I thought they might be doing. And I think, yeah, that is it for him. Unfortunately, that was just a case of, but he gets the kill anyway and gets just a flesh wound. That was just a case of needing to maneuver more and in the heat of battle just, slipping his mind. But anyway, still a really good match. So let's head off to the results. And in the end, it did indeed turn out to be a victory for Soalhn and his team, earning himself 236,900 credits, 3,146 experience, 174,000 damage. I see that actually is now putting damage numbers on the front page, which is nice. 35 target hits, 1 plane shot down, 1 incapacitation, 3 kills, 8 citadels, battle hero, God, I don't even remember, Confederate high caliber, and probably something else. And he completed the effective shooting mission. So off to the team results, coming first place on his team with a base XP of 2,097. A good chunk ahead of Johnny in the Nagato, who had 1,283. On the enemy team, it was the Admiral Hipper, who did the best on their team with base experience of 998. So onto the detailed report. As I said, 174,650 damage done. So a really great game from Soalhn. I enjoyed watching it, and I hope you guys all did as well. But anyways, that about covers it for this video. If you enjoyed, please feel free to hit the thumbs up button down below and consider subscribing for more World of Warships, Armored Warfare, and a few other things that are thrown to the mix from time to time. Also, be sure to check the description down below for the email address that you guys can use to send in your epic, awesome World of Warships or Armored Warfare replays. And maybe next time, it's your replay that I'm showing to my channel. But yep, that about covers everything. Thank you guys very much for stopping by. This is Predator 458 signing off, and I will see you guys next time.